Hi everyone, today we are going to be working on the Show What You Know page for Chapter 5, which is where we are going to hop into dividing decimals, and then we are also going to start on Lesson 5.1. So you are going to need the materials for the Show What You Know page, which is, whoops, I just drew all over the page here. Hold on, let me fix this. Oh my gosh. Which is page 289. Okay, so you're going to need page 289, and then you are also going to need pages, 291 through 296. Okay, but we are going to start on page 289. All right, here we go. So this is the first part to chapter 5. So this is the Show What You Know stuff. It's just checking for understanding and solidifying some of those skills that you already have, but will help you with this chapter as we work, okay? So chapter 5 is about dividing decimals, and we're going to talk about that today in lesson 5.1 as well. All right, here we go. So at the top, they give us a few just division facts, okay? So we have 24 divided by 6, 56 divided by 7, 18 divided by 9, and 35 divided by 5. Okay, one thing that we're going to look at is all of these division facts. So 24 divided by 6. One thing I like to think of is the inverse operation of division. So the inverse operation, or the opposite, okay, inverse operation of division is multiplication. Just like the inverse operation of multiplication is division, okay? So we have 24 divided by 6. So if we think of this in terms of groups, that's like saying we have 6 groups of 24 things, okay? So maybe I have 6 groups of 24 pieces of candy, okay? So I could draw a picture to represent that, and I'm going to kind of do it up here in this blank space. So if I have 6 groups, okay, and I put 24 pieces of candy in each one, then, or I split up 24 pieces of candy amongst those 6 groups, amongst those 6 groups, then what do I have, okay? So we can think of it in terms of multiplication as well. So 24 divided by 6. First thing we want to do is we want to think 6 multiplied, I'm going to use red, 6 multiplied by what is equal to 24? Okay, well, we know basic math facts tell us that 6 multiplied by 4 is equal to 24. Therefore, 24 divided by 6 is just 4. I know we ran out of room there, but I'll circle it. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have 56 divided by 7. Okay, it could also look like this. That's the same way. It can be written the same way. Okay, 56 divided by 7. So that's like saying I have 7 groups and I have 56 pieces of candy that I'm dividing up equally into those groups, okay? So if I think of my inverse operation, I might say, okay, 7 times what is equal to 56, okay? 7 times what is equal to 56, and that would give me my answer, okay? Well, we know based off of basic multiplication facts that 7 times 8 is 56. Therefore, 56 divided by 7 is 8. Okay? Let's see. Let's look at we'll just keep moving on and look at the next one, okay? So, 18 divided by 9, okay? 18 divided by 9. Now, this one's written differently than the first two that we did, okay? If we were to write it the way that number 1 and number 2 are written, we'd put our larger number inside the box and the 9 outside the box, okay? And that's like saying we have 9 groups, we have 18 items, we want to know how many items would be in each group, okay? So you could say 9 multiplied by what is equal to 18? Well, we know that 9 multiplied by 2 is equal to 18. Therefore, 18 divided by 9 is 2. And finally, that last one, 35 divided by 5. what we could do is we could say, okay, 5 multiplied by what is equal to 35? See the pattern here? The bigger number becomes our product. The smaller number is one of the multiplication pieces, okay? So 5 multiplied by 7 is equal to 35. Therefore, 35 divided by 5 is 7. Okay? Let's go ahead and look at 5, and we'll look at a couple here, and then we're gonna go down to these ones at the bottom, okay? Because they're a little bit different. So for 5 through 7, it says to estimate with 1-digit divisors, okay? So our divisor is 1 digit, which is the number that's outside the cage here. So it's the 6 on number 5. Okay, that's our divisor. We call the number inside the dividend. And then, of course, the quotient is the answer. Okay, so this is the divisor. Just going to label it. Okay, so we've got our divisor, our dividend, and we're finding the quotient. But in this case, we are actually going to estimate the quotient. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to find numbers that are easy to do mentally in our head to find an estimation. So for instance, if we have, let's look at 6 real quick. We have 1,165 divided by 4. What's a number that 4 could fit into easily that I could mentally do in my head? Well, I could change it to 4 and 1,200. Just leave the 4. Because the beautiful part about that is I know that there are 3 groups of 4 in 12, and we add the 2 zeros. So our estimate is 300. Okay, let's look at number 7. This one's a little bit different. We want to find a number that's compatible, that's easy to do mentally in our head. So what if I used 1,407? Well, I know that there are 2 groups of 7 in 14, and then I have to add the 2 zeros. So 200 is a pretty good estimate. Okay. Let's see. 8, 9, and 10. Those are 2-digit divisor ones, but I don't want to get into that yet because we've already actually done this in the chapters way before this. I think it was either the end of chapter 1 or the beginning of chapter 2. I can't remember. But we've actually done this. The only thing that's going to be a little different this term, for this chapter, is that we're adding decimal points in there. Okay. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and get started with lesson 5.1, which begins on page number, whoops, I've messed this up. Begins on page number 291. Okay, so go ahead and turn to page 291. 291 is where we're going to start. Okay, and we're going to be at the top of page 291 where it says to unlock the problem. And in this lesson, we're looking at division patterns with decimals, okay? So let's look at this. The Healthy Wheat Bakery uses 560 pounds of flour to make 1,000 loaves of bread. That's a lot of flour. Each loaf contains the same amount of flour. How many pounds of flour does the bakery use in each loaf of bread? Okay? So it says you can use powers of 10 to help you find quotients. Dividing by a power of 10 is the same as multiplying by 1/10, 1/100th, or 1/1000th. Okay? So we're going to use place value patterns to look at this. So it's saying divide 1,000 divided by 560. Okay, so we're going to look at the patterns first. Then we're going to be moving our decimal point around and figuring this out. Okay, so we have 560 multiplied by 1, which is just 560. Okay, we have 560 multiplied by 1/10. So they've taken our decimal point and moved it 1 place to the right. In 1/100th, they've moved it 2 places, and in 1/1000th, they've moved it 3 places. okay? And that's the same, these are the same over here, okay? They've moved our decimal point 3 places, 2 places, and 1 place, okay? All right, let's look at number, down here where it says another way. Okay, another way. Let's take a look at this together. It says divide 560 divided by 10 to the third power. So we're going to look at a pattern here. So it says look for a pattern. So 560 divided by 10 to the 0 power is the same as 560 divided by 1, which anytime you divide by 1, it's the same as when you multiply by 1. You just get your answer. Then they give us 560 divided by 10 to the first. Well, that little number 1 tells us we have to move our decimal point 1 place to the right. So if we have 560 and our decimal point's at the end, we move it 1 place to the right. Okay? Same with the next one. 560 divided by 10 to the second power. That little number 2 tells us that we have to move our decimal point 2 places to the right. So they've done that. 1, 2. So if I have 560 and that little number 3 tells me I have to move it 3 places to the right, okay, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Decimal point 560. Okay. I know this is confusing, but as we keep working, I'm going to teach you a few tricks. All right, let's go ahead and turn to page 292. 292. I want to look at the middle of the page where it says try this, and there's a part A and a part B. So right here on the middle of the page where it says try this, okay? So let's look at this. It says to complete the pattern, okay? Now part A uses just 1, 10, and 100, but part B uses exponents, okay? So let's take a look at this together. We have 32.6 divided by 1. Anytime we divide by 1, it's just itself. So 32.6 divided by 1 is 32.6. Okay? Now we have to look at 32.6 divided by 10. Well, I say to myself, there's 1 0 in number 10, so that tells me that I have to move my decimal point 1 place to the left. Okay? 1 place to the left. So 1 place, boop, over would give me 3.26. 32.6 divided by 100, I have 2 zeros now. I'm going to move my decimal point 1, 2 places, so I now have 0.326. So those zeros decide how many places we move our decimal point. Okay, let's look at part B. This one's using exponents, and our exponents are now going to decide how we move our decimal point. Okay, we have 50.2 divided by 10 to the 0 power. 10 to the 0 power is the same as 1. So that's like 50.2 divided by 1, which is just 50.2. It's just itself. Okay? Then we have 50.2 divided by 10 to the first. Well, that little exponent right there tells me that I have to move my decimal point 1 place to the left. Okay, so I have 50.2, and I'm moving it 1 place to the left. I now have 5.02. Okay, 50.2 divided by 10 to the second power. That little number 2 tells me where my decimal point's gonna go. So we have, wait for that bell, 50.2, and we move it 1, 2 places, so we now have decimal point 502. Okay. Go ahead and turn to page 293 now. 293 looks like this. We're going to do a few more of these together, and then I'm going to go ahead and assign your homework problems, and then you're going to go into your, or back to our sites page, and you're going to fill in your homework problem answers, okay? So, again, this is page 293 at the top where it says complete the pattern. I want to look at number 2 and 4, okay? So number 2 and number 4 are what we're going to focus on for a second here. Number 2, we're using exponents this time. So we have 225 divided by 10 to the 0 power. 10 to the 0 power is the same as 1. So our answer is the same, 225. Okay. Then I have, sorry guys, I was trying to zoom in there. Then I have 225 divided by 10 to the 1st power. Well, 10 to the 1st power, that little number 1, tells me that I have to move my decimal point. Now you're probably thinking, Miss Van Etten, you don't have a decimal point. But every number really has a decimal point at the very end of it. So this is really like 225 and a decimal point at the caboose. So we're going to move it one position over to the left. So our answer is 22.5. Okay. Let's look at the next one. We have 225 divided by 10 to the 2nd power. Okay, 2nd power. That little number 2 determines how many positions I need to move it to the left. So I have 225, my decimal point's at the caboose, and I move it 1, 2, 2.25. Okay. Same with the last one. This little number 3 tells me I have to move it 3 places to the left. So I have 225, decimal point at the end, 1, 2, 3. My new answer is decimal point 225. Okay, let's look at number 4, because this one's different. Okay, number 4. We have 74.3 divided by 1. Anytime we take a number, whether it has a decimal or not, and we divide it by 1, it's just itself, okay? So 74.3 divided by 1 is just 74.3. Okay? Now let's look at the next one. We have 74.3 divided by 10. Well, that 0, there's only one of them in the number 10, tells me that I have to move my decimal point 1 place to the left. So I have 74.3. That 0 tells me I move it 1 place to the left. I now have 7.43. Okay. Same for the last one. 100 has 2 zeros. So that's going to tell me that I move 7.43, or sorry, 7 point, let me erase this. There we go. 74.3, 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. Decimal point, add 0 as a place value. Decimal point, 0.743. Okay. So all you're really doing is looking at the zeros in 10, 100, and sometimes 1,000. And you're looking at exponents and deciding which way to move the decimal point. Okay? We're going to look at our practice and homework page now, which starts on page 295 and is on also 296. So I'm going to tell you which problems you're going to be working on, and you are going to circle them, then go fill in your answers on the Google form. Okay? All right, here we go. So we have I want you to do number 2, 5, 7, and 8. 2, 5, 7, and 8. And 11 on page 297. Okay. 2, 5, 7, 8, and 11. Then on page 296, whoops, markup, there we go. You are going to work on number 1 and 4. Number 1 and 4 on page 296. Okay, so on page 295, you're working on 2, 5, 7, 8, and 11. And on 296, you are working on 1 and 4. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Go ahead and work on your math homework, and then you're going to go back to our sites page and fill in